Ladies and gents, boys and girls, thank you for joining me on this wet, windy October morning. As many of you will have already noticed, today I have the pleasure of inviting Norman Cowans to join me to celebrate Black History Month and Norman's outstanding career with Middlesex and England. In a 14-year career with Middlesex between 1980 and 1993, Norman played a role in the club winning 10 trophies. The trophies in which Norman helped the club win were 4 county championships, 2 Gillette Cups, 2 Benson Hedges Cups, 1 Sunday League and 1 Red Future Assurance Cup, so there's a full house there. And for Middlesex in first class cricket, Norman took 532 wickets in 188 matches at a remarkable average of 22.57. In List A cricket, which in old money is Gillette, NatWest and Sunday League, Norman took 212 wickets in 174 matches at an average of just over 25, with an amazing economy rate of 3.74 runs per over. Norman also played 19 tests and 23 ODIs for England between 1982 and 1985, taking 74 wickets in total. These achievements and figures rightly position Norman as one of Middlesex's greatest cricketers, and it's lovely to have you with me this morning. So welcome on, Norman. How are you?
Thank you very much, Gus. I'm very well, thank you. It's just been having a workout this morning, just trying to keep myself as healthy as possible in these very, very trying times. So it's good to be feeling good now.
You're looking well. I mean, you still look as though you could play. I always say that when I see you, but you look as fit and healthy and strong as ever.
Yes, I mean, I try. When I sort of packed up playing, I sort of carried on just doing a little bit and often at the gym, local gym, and I still enjoy trying to exercise and keep fit. It's part of my my life really since a young man growing up and playing obviously Colts cricket and then obviously later on for Middlesex. I think as I got a bit older and I suppose a bit wiser, realised the importance of trying to keep yourself fit, especially the job that we used to do as fast bowlers. It was always very, very challenging with injuries and things like that. And when you sort of retire, you can feel a few of those aches and pain, and this is part.
You get in my side. I haven't maybe looked after myself quite as well. I've carried on eating and drinking as much, but obviously don't do the bars that I used to do.
I try, but I think the injuries I've had over the years, it's more like a maintenance really, just to keep the body a little bit strong. With the back injuries and the groins and stuff like that. It's just one of the things I think. Well, I'd rather just do a bit of maintenance on the way.
And what are you up to? Still living around Southampton?
Yes, I've been I've been down here for a few years now, and it's just it's my second home. Obviously, living in London, and still love going back to the family in London. It's a bit quieter down here. The slower pace of life, lovely countryside, and it's not too far from anything real. So when I moved down here, I had no plan of staying down here for very, very long. I thought, I'll come down here for 2 or 3 years, and then I'll be moving back to London. But
and that was obviously to play for Hampshire at the end of your career, wasn't it?
That's right. And before you know it, the time flies by, and I just sort of keep my business interest in London, and then I just come back here and.
Yeah, I mean, you invested. I'm not saying you're tight or anything like that, even though someone used to say that in the dressing room. I don't know if it was Wayne or someone, but you obviously invested your money well when you were playing. With sort of Phil Edmonds gave you a lot of advice, didn't he? You bought a few properties around the Queensbury area, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, it was very, very difficult back in when we were playing, because we obviously didn't get paid a fortune. So obviously what little money you did get, you obviously try and put some away or invest it when you finish playing, because as it's a very, very short career, and any time you can get an injury and you're out of the game. So yeah, Phil Edmonds was he was a forward thinker, a guy who was cricket was probably more of a means to an end for him, because he was an entrepreneur, and I used to sit with Phil and listen to him and ask his advice, and he used to show me another way of he said, if you leave your whatever money you have in the bank, it's going to get you so much interest. But this is another way of doing it, where you still get sort of a return. And so I sort of followed his lead and ventured into trying to and secure my future, really, by just investing what money I had at the time, which wasn't very much. But over a period of many years, obviously inflation sort of make things seems a lot more than they are. But as we all know,
have you kept in time? I mean, actually, none of us have seen Phil Edmonds for quite some time. Have you heard or anything from him?
Yeah, the last time I bumped into Phil, actually, he was around a bit then, and he was down in Marylebone High Street, and I saw him because he had an office around the corner, and we, he was in a cafe, and we I sort of went in there, and there's Phil, and so we were having a chat, and he was asking me about things, and he was saying, how do you keep the wolf from the door, and stuff like that. And I said to Phil, I said, obviously I was listening to you back in the day, when you had ideas, and he said, well, if you're doing that, that's okay with me. And Phil was a character because he would always take the mickey. He would always, you'd be in a group of us guys, and he would just throw a little grenade in the mix, and then he walks away and watch everyone argue that.
I know, I remember.
But I think it was
and you used to bite quite a bit as well at him.
Yeah, he used to wind us up, really, wind us up. I knew how to do it, and we just used to just take him with a pinch of salt at the end, because he'll, the thing with Phil Edmonds, you could fall out with him one day, next day everything's fine. You never sort of held any grudges. So there was some fantastic characters in the dressing room back in the day.
So start at the beginning. I mean, born in Enfield, Jamaica in 1961. When did your family move to the UK?
Yeah, so my mum moved to the UK when I was a baby, really, and they came over. My mum would come over sort of early 60s, because I was still a baby when she left. So I was brought up by my great aunt and my grandfather, and until I was 11. And then my mum my grandfather, my great aunt was getting on a little bit, so. And I was sort of I launched myself around that age, so they told my mum, so I needed to get some discipline. So they sent for me, and I came over to England and saw my mum. And by then,
that was in the early 70s, was it?
That was 72. So my mum had married and had another family, and so I joined a family in Kenton in Harrow, and. Yeah, it was a strange time for me, because I was so used to doing my own thing, and then also when you come to England, where it was completely different culture, different it was just everything. I had a strong Jamaican accent at the time, and I hadn't gone obviously to junior school, so I joined the senior school straight away as a 11-year-old in Harrow.
And you went, I mean, the school's Park High, was it? Is that where you went to straight away, or did you go somewhere before Park High?
Yeah, so I joined Park High, in 72. But before it was Park High, it was called Shandos.
Oh, right.
And it was a boys' school, and it was a girls' school as well, called Shandos. So it was on the same building, but it was divided in two. Also, we couldn't go on the girls' playground. They couldn't come to our playground, but it was Shandos. And then after three years, they changed it to Park High, and then they amalgamated it into a boys and girls school. But the amazing thing was when I went to Park High, I also didn't know anyone. Obviously, it was quite challenging for me to integrate and meet new people. So sport was quite a good way of doing that. And so when
were you into cricket? Were you into cricket? I mean, was your love of cricket, did that start in Jamaica or over here, or just throughout, really?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because in Jamaica, going to school over in Jamaica, junior school, the schools had their own cricket teams, but not my age. We didn't have an organised cricket at my age, so I just used to go and watch the older boys play against other schools, and then I used to just play in my backyard with my cousins, and that was my exposure to cricket really. And never played any type of organised cricket. We just just messed around in the backyard. So, but that was the only sport I was exposed to. So I lived in the country, and there wasn't any football or any basketball or any other sports at my age at that time. So when I came to England and I went to school at after the sort of second year at school, I got into the basketball team and the athletics team. But I noticed we didn't have cricket at school. So
it's a lovely story, actually. I remember you told me before. I mean, repeating
yeah,
it's only really your determination that got cricket
right.
going at the school, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, along with a maths teacher called Paul Lucas, who liked cricket, and he decided to take us, give us a little bit of assistance really in forming the team. So cricket wasn't there at the time, but we sort of, with the help of Paul Lucas, we started the cricket at Park High, and we sort of, after a couple of years just playing amongst ourselves, we entered into the Harrow Schools competition. And by this time I was 14, and we whooped all the other teams, even Gayton High. And,
I know it's cool.
That's your team, and Ram's team, and then we played Roxheath Manor in the final at up in Stanmore at the recreation ground up in Stanmore.
Was it Whitchurch playing fields?
Yes.
Yeah, we always used to play. Whitchurch was a place where we all seemed to play.
Whitchurch, that's it. Yeah, Whitchurch playing fields, and but we did so well, and it did make me captain, Paul Lucas, and it was amazing because headmaster, he announced in assembly, he said, we've done so well at my year, and he was going to give the school in the final in my year, and give them the afternoon off to go and watch us play the final, which was amazing, and, it was surreal. So we achieved quite a lot, and it was a great way of me sort of integrating and becoming part of of everything that was happening at the school, and it was great because after that cricket just continued. And
were you always a bowler, or were you a batsman, or all rounder, or what?
Yeah, so I started off bowling leg spin, and I wasn't any good at it, Gus. And so I started
bowling leg spin.
Yeah, I thought it was a leg spin. I thought I could bamboozle the kids with some spin, but I wasn't very good at it. So I started to bowl, run in and bowl fast. And obviously the kids start hopping around, and then they, it was a natural thing. No one taught me how to bowl fast. I just ran in, and with my action and just bowled, and no one sort of said, "Oh, this is what you should do." I just did it, and then it became
a beautiful smooth action run up, didn't it?
Yeah, it became second nature, and then I just continued that, and obviously it worked for doing my Colts and
Where did you play club cricket? Which club were you involved with?
So I joined North London Poly, and they were based in Honeypot Lane in Stanmore, and I joined them when I was 14. When I was 13 was the first time I played any type of Colts cricket. I played one game for Kenton when I was 13, and then joined North London Poly following year, and we won the league most seasons because we had a really, really strong team, because most of our players went to Roxheath Manor, and they had a really, really strong schools team, and most of those guys played in the Colts team. So I played for North London Poly, and then they had four men's team as well. So I started off in the fourth team, playing with the men when I was 14. And I remember my first game playing for the men's team. I got 5 wickets, and they were like, "Oh no," it was amazing. And soon I just went up the levels, different levels.
Stamel got someone from a bloke called Ivan Mendonca. I don't know.
Yes, Ivan Mendonca. Yeah. He
left North London Poly and played for Stanmore, which was obviously my club.
He was a good player actually at North London Poly, and Raj Maru played at North London Poly as well.
Yeah.
A guy called Peter Waterman, who played a few games for Surrey. Yeah, we had a really strong Colts team, and a sort of decent first team in the league. But the problem was we didn't play in the highest league. The Middlesex league was which teams like Stanmore were in, and Edmonton and Shepherd's Bush and Uxbridge, and Wembley. They were like in the Middlesex Premier League, the top league. So yeah, I ended up playing in for Wembley. It was my first top league club, really. But it was interesting because back then,
how do you fit your run up in at Wembley? That's not that long, strike. You've been pushing off the sight screen there.
Yeah, I mean, my first game for Wembley actually was against Enfield, and I remember getting 7 wickets against them. That was quite a lively wicket actually. Wembley was quite bouncy as well. I used to pin a few people bowling at Wembley. But the league then started to complain about the wickets. Say, "Oh, Wembley's not a good wicket," but for us fast bowlers, we didn't mind, But
there were a couple of other. Philip de Freitas and Chris Lewis obviously were at Wembley as well, weren't they, for a while before they moved to Leicestershire to further their careers. I mean, how did you catch? I mean, again, it was almost your determination that got cricket in at Park High,
yes.
and again, similar determination really allowed you to sort of catch the eye of the Middlesex coaches, didn't it? At the start, your sort of initial involvement with Middlesex was very much through you. Was it you turning up when you shouldn't have done, or sneaking in, or something?
That's right. Because I used to play for Northumberland Poly, and most of the guys and my peers in that team, they used to turn up, for a Colts game with Middlesex CX cross across their chest, And I used to think, I said, well, I'm getting player of the year, and I'm much, better bowler than these guys, and they're playing for Middlesex Colts and Middlesex schools, and I thought, well, why is I playing for them? Because I think I was just as good, if not better. So Raj Maru's dad, a guy called Jamin Maru, who used to go down to Finchley on a Sunday with a family they had their own private net, and he said to me, "Oh, Norman, you should, I think you should be playing for them. He believed that I was," and I thought, yeah, I think I'm good enough as well, but I don't know how you go about, getting recognised so someone can see you to say, yeah, this guy should be playing. So he said, look, one Sunday when we're going down to practice, I can pick you up on the way, and you can see where they're practicing. So I decided to get my kit, all packed in my bag, and then they picked me up because they live in North Harrow, and I lived in Kenton. So they picked me up on the way to Finchley, to Finchley Cricket School. I got there, and I went to the dressing room. I got changed, and I came out and went into nets where Middlesex Colts on the 15 and on the 14 were practicing. And I walked into net, and there's a guy called John Eade, who was the Middlesex Colts coach. He used to play for Wembley. That's how I got to play for Wembley. But anyway, so I walked into and I said, "Excuse me, sir, do you mind if I have a bowl?" And he said, "Okay, son, have a bowl." So, ran up and bowled it on the Middlesex Colts guy, and I walked back, and he said, "Have another bowl." So I did it again, and then he said, "Oh, I'd like to carry on for this session." And then at the end of the session, the Colts section, he said to me, "How come we haven't seen you before? Young man, what I'd like you to do is from now on, I want to come down every Sunday and practice with us during that winter." And at the end of that winter, he said, "Look, I think that we're going to give you a few games in Middlesex Colts on the 15 in the summer," and then that's how I got. And then during that time, while I was in the nets, Don Bennett used to come and practice as well and have a look, and introduced me to Don Bennett and said, "Don, this is Norman Cowans. Keep an eye on him." And then I played for the Middlesex Colts the following year, and it was fantastic. I did very well, and I carried on playing for them up until on the 17 when I went up to Yorkshire on a cricket tour to play in Joe Lum 11 against Middlesex, which was like a tour that we played at Aberdale Park. And I remember playing against Yorkshire, and I got man of the match in that tournament, that tour. and then came back, and I was 16 now, and I wanted to join Middlesex as a to try and get the staff. So I wrote to Middlesex, and I said I'd like to join Middlesex, and I got a reply back to say okay, would like to come down to Lords and have a net as a trial, to see if we would take on the staff. And Don Bennett was there, and he brought Ian Gould in to bat against me, and I ran in against Gunnar Gould, and I bowled him a few quick deliveries as a 16-year-old, and he came out the nets, and he was like, "Oh, Don, this guy, I think we've got another diamond here." And anyway, so Don said to me afterwards, he said, "Look, we don't normally take guys on at your age, at 16, onto the Middlesex staff. I think you're probably a bit too young. But what you could do is, MCC take guys on a lot younger than we do. So why don't you go for a trial with the MCC young professionals, and see, and if you get on the staff, we will give you a few second 11 games, and then you can play for MCC when we don't required to play for the second team."
Was Tom Wilson in charge of the MCC young cricketers there?
No, the first guy was charged, a guy called Len Munster,
right,
and then the assistant was a guy called Bob Jones, late Bob Jones.
Oh yeah.
Len Munster. So they took us on, and I went for a trial, and they said, "Yeah, we definitely want you to give you a contract for next season." So I was 16 at the time, and I knew that when the following season started, I'll be 17. So I waited. I took another job in the meantime, and I was working at. I was a glass blower for Whitefriars Glassworks in Stanmore. Sorry, not in Stanmore, Willstone. And my motto, my theory was, okay, I need a job in the winter to tide me over, for the cricket season. So and it was one of the jobs that I was on my feet all day. So I thought that would help me to get stronger legs, and I was earning some money. And I remember going to the gaffer when I went for the interview, and I told him I was only going to be here for a few months because I was playing cricket the following summer. And he said, "Yeah, that's right, son. If you want to, we'll let you off for any games in between." And so I did that, and then they all wished me very good luck. And then I joined MCC staff and started playing for Middlesex 2 straight away.
There's a great sort of website, cricketarchive.com, that sort of has all your games, and it's really good. Have you looked at that? I don't know if you found it or not, but.
No, I haven't. No.
Get on it. You can. I mean, you got to sign in. It costs you sort of £4 or £5 or whatever a month or something like that. But you can look back at the history of your career. I was looking at yours, sort of doing a bit of research before speaking to you, and your first second 11 game for Middlesex on this is versus Glamorgan on Barry Island.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Was that your first sort of, I don't know, sort of semi almost professional game of cricket for Middlesex?
That was my first game for Middlesex. I remember Don Bennett, saying, we're selected to play down at Barrier Island against Glamorgan. And Don Bennett was late. Don Bennett, he used to captain the team, and I remember him coming to my house in Kenton to pick me up and taking me to the hotel, and then obviously to the game. And Don was captain, and it was amazing experience, because this was my first second team game for Middlesex, and the standard, you immediately saw the standard that you needed to move up to, because there's quite a few guys who played first class cricket, and it was I think we just had a very strong second team. Glamorgan had a decent second team, quite strong, but it sort of got you in, and Don was there to guide you. He didn't say very much.
He's a remarkable man. I mean, so many of us look back at Don, and whilst he wasn't a sort of I don't know, sort of one of a great, I say, speaker or sort of a dramatic fella, was he? I mean, but what he did for you and the support he gave you in a very quiet sort of strong way was remarkable, wasn't it? And again, if he saw something in you, which he obviously did, and he saw something in myself, the support that he gave you was remarkable.
It was. You know, I respected him because, you know, he spoke to you on a level as is, you know, look, you know, I've got your best interest at heart. You know, it's not like, you know, I'm the coach and you listen to what I say. You know, when he does something, you know, it's almost like, you know, I'm saying this because, you know, the standard I expect from you is a lot higher. You know, and if I didn't expect that standard for you, obviously, you know, I wouldn't believe in you. So, and he would, you know, sort of go out of his way to, you know, to let you know, because when Don spoke to you, you knew that it was either you're in trouble about something, or you know, you know, you've done something wrong, and you know, or he might come and say, you know, he will just come and say something funny, like a joke, which is, oh bloody hell, you didn't expect that from him. You know, he was a bit like that, and he used to lead by example a lot of the time because he kept himself very, very fit. You know, I remember, you know, when we sort of do pre-season training and stuff with Don, you know, he used to come in the changing room, and he must have been, you know, probably in his getting up to 60 by then. And he had a six-pack, you know, like, you know, he was a very fit man, you know, and very professional in his the way he sort of saw, you know, the game should have played, and hard as well, hard man. And you know, even when I was at my worst as a 19-year-old, you know, because I had a lot of injuries, stress fracture when I was 18, and you know what that's like, Gus. You know, being out for a whole season, and you know, with a stress fracture, you can't really see it. You know, you just feel the pain. You know, and how frustrating that can be. And then you try and bowl, and you just feel it's not right, and no one else can, you know, knows what you're going through. And then also when it, you know, you get it X-rayed and they realise that's what it is, and obviously you've got to try and get the confidence of bowling quick again. And I remember I was at home, and you know, I missed the whole of 79 season, I think it was, or 1980, yeah, 79, 80 or 80 season, 79 season. I missed the whole of that season because of stress fracture, you know, and obviously in those days you were just, you know, the MCC staff, once your contract was up, or even, I suppose, you know, you were on your own. You know, there was no one there's no sort of backup, or you can still get this treatment or that treatment. You're left on your own. So obviously, luckily for me, I was able to go and get some, you know, private treatment and things like that. But I remember feeling a little bit sort of unsure, or, you know, and Don rang me up and invited me down to Finchley, because he was worried about, you know, what was happening with me, and, you know, what was thinking of doing, and he said, look, you know, we would like you to, you know, try and, you know, we believe you can do well in this game, and, you know, come and get yourself fit and come back down and practice again, because, you know, we believe in you. And that was just when I needed that sort of support, you know, and it was great. And I got myself fit, and then also the 1980 season, I wasn't so sure how my body was going to react when I came back into the team and into the second team, and I just, you know, took baby steps, you know, get yourself fit and then to get the confidence back again. But, you know, I was allowed that time to do that. And obviously, when you're that age, your body's still developing. Still,
yeah, I mean, I say things sort of happen very quickly for you. Again, sort of looking at that, just talking about the Barry Island game, 78. But that summer, you've obviously done enough, because 78, 79, you're suddenly selected for England under-19s on a tour to Australia, weren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that must have been sort of, I mean, I was looking at some of the players, Jonathan Agnew, Kim Barnett, Mike Garnham, Nigel Felton. They were on that tour. Sort of suddenly you've gone from sort of North London Poly and Park High to sort of playing at the MCG, wasn't it? I mean, in a couple of years, really. I mean, that's a sort of remarkable rise, even at that stage of your career. And obviously it repeated itself when you got into the professional level, didn't it?
Yes. I mean, it was amazing, actually, because when I joined the MCC staff as a professional, you know, it was one of the best training you could get. It kind of catapults you in the skills, holding your skills, the demand of the game. Because back in those days, guys, we were playing. I was playing for Middlesex during the week, and at the weekend I was playing club cricket. So it was a lot of cricket for a young man to be playing when bowling fast and trying to bowl fast, and then obviously at the end of the season we're playing for Lord's Nippers, on cross arrows. And so you were getting a lot of cricket in, and you were also seeing how you are against other players of your same ability, and how much you start to believe in yourself, because you're thinking you don't know how good you are when you're that age, and so even when at the end of my first season on the MCC staff, I got this letter to say, oh, you've been selected to tour Australia with England at 19s. I mean, I really thought someone was playing a trick on me, because I tell you why. Because I used to.
You were 17. You were 17 at the time. That you would have been, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I was 17. But there's a guy called Dave English who used to Bunbury, Dave English, and we used to play in a few Lord's Nippers game. And I remember going up to playing a game up in Northwood, and he gave me a lift up there, and he was saying he was asking me all these questions, and I didn't know Dave English very well, but he seemed a really nice guy. And at the end of the trip, we got to Northwood now, and he said, I said, Norman, I think one day you're going to play for England. Just for a conversation on the way there. And anyway, so then that season, when I got this letter through to say he was selected to Australia, I thought he wrote it and was playing a trick on me. so I did actually believe it, So I took the letter in my bag, and then I went up to got the train from St John's Wood to Queensbury, and and then I forgot my bag on the train because I was so excited. I just lost my bag, but I forgot my bag, and luckily the train went to Stanmore, the last thing. So I went back to Stanmore and asked them if they'd see my bag, and the guy said, yes, we've got a bag here for you. And I said, well, we noticed there's a letter in the bag, and it says you're quite a good cricketer. So I said, yeah, but I think it might, someone might be playing a trick on me. And so I had to wait till the following day. Didn't tell my mum or anything, to ring up the TCC. What was it back there? It was National Cricket Association, NCA. It was a National Cricket Association, and back then, and they sort of confirmed that it was true. So I was like, then I told my mum, and it was unbelievable, but it was great because it happened very quickly. But the guys I was playing with, like Jonathan Agnew, Kim Barnett, Nigel Felton, Anderson, we quickly, a guy called Duncan Pauline used to play Surrey. Quite a few of them had played first-class cricket, and I hadn't played first-class cricket. And so you're playing, all of a sudden you're with some, amazing cricketers. And it was a fantastic experience. And at that age, to be able to do that and go abroad and represent your country, and, and in Australia, and to be part of that, it was a huge thing. Everyone made me feel very, very welcome. Freddie Brown, the late Freddie Brown, was the manager. Keith Andrews from Northampton was a coach, and they were so amazing. The Freddie Brown used to say to me, he said, says Norman, he said, before a game, the day before, you got to be very careful what you eat before the day, things like that. And Keith Andrews was very, very sort of methodical, at a fantastic way of speaking, and very gentle and very philosophical about the game. And they just made you express yourself. They didn't overcoach you. They knew you had the ability and you did express yourself. And, I came back from that tour, and it was one of the best experiences in life, as well as cricket. Saw Australia, obviously for the first time, and saw both sides of Australia. The hospitable side of Australia. The sort of other side. A few things that happened that you're thinking, well, these people are just ignorant. And then the beautiful side where some people were just fantastic and looked after me. And in fact, the late Dean Jones, I met him when I was on that tour, and his family, they God rest his soul, and condolences his family. They invited myself and Duncan Pauline, to have an Australian experience and be part of for lunch, and they looked after us. And I remember like Dean Jones, he was in the Victoria under 19 squad, but he didn't actually get. He was 12th man when we played against them, when England 19 played against them. But he was such a you just knew he had something about him just by his attitude. We didn't see him play, but he was always. And I remember after that tour, we used to write to each other, as young men, and we used to try and say, well, he said, oh, why don't you come out to Australia and play some real cricket? And I used to, tell. So you made some, some friends along the way. And so it was and then other families we went to there in Australia, in Adelaide, or we were allowed to go out to meet another family in Adelaide with their Australian family. I think they were of Scottish origin, and they welcomed us, welcomed me. I was there, and looked after us and after me, and made me, had dinner with them and stuff. So it was a great experience. The England setup was, I suppose, they invited families to invite some of us to, go out and meet, just normal Australian people, and so the experience was amazing, Gus. It was
It was completely different to what now, where you're obviously in hotels and just kept in your group, aren't you? It sort of makes you far more worldly. I mean, say, just looking at your Middlesex debut in 1980, took 1 wicket. Who was your first wicket?
JJ Rogers.
Correct, right. Championship debut. I mean, so you didn't sort of. Then in 1981. Championship debut versus Leicestershire at Grace Road, opened the bowling with Mike Selvey there, our president. First wicket?
My first wicket, oh gosh, I remember getting 5 wickets that game.
Yeah, I'll come to that in the second innings. First innings, you got 1 wicket. Court Downton.
Oh my God, it wasn't Gow, was it?
No. Left arm spinner.
Oh my God, Tolchard.
Left arm spinner, played for England.
Leicester. Oh my God, left arm spinner. Oh my God.
Now an umpire.
Oh man, not Nick Cook. No, he played.
Yeah, Nick Cook.
Was it Nick Cook?
Yeah, Nick Cook. So you got him out, called Paul Downton. Second innings, 5 for 58. You got Leicester's top 3 out. Balderson, Cobb, Gower, as you mentioned. All LBW. Obviously, LBW was a big wicket for you. I mean, I always remember you certainly bowling from the nursery and sort of pushing it up. Yeah, nip one back and trapping people there. You played 1 further game in 1981 versus Derby, opened the bowling then with the legend that was Wayne Daniel for the first time. Started that partnership, which was obviously something that you loved. Why do you only play 1 more game in 1981? Was that, do you have another injury then?
So yeah, I think I was injured in 81. I did my back in. I had a back injury. I went to Australia to play during the summer over there for Claremont Cuddislow, during our winter, and I came back and I had a back injury, and I was out for quite a long time actually during that time. So I think that it was injury. It was injury that.
I mean, you were the 4th sort of black player of that great Middlesex team to play for the club. Neil Williams became the 5th. Was it helpful to have the likes of Butch, Slacky and Wayne already established in the Middlesex side when you walked into the dressing room and sort of announced yourself?
Yes, I think it helped, guys, because when I was playing for the second team, Butch used to play in the second team, Slacky used to play in the second team. Then Neil came later on. We had a really good bowling partnership, Neil and myself. In the second team, we used to have, we used to bowl some serious deliveries as second team bowlers, with Bill Merrowby in the third team. So we had quite a good attack. And so, when I got into 10, and obviously Wayne, I used to, when I was the MCC staff, also used to watch Middlesex, bowl. Used to watch Wayne train and bowl, and so it was encouraging to see those guys there. It was very, very encouraging because, when you come in and you think, oh, there are people, that look like yourself, and they're doing well in the team. So, there was no sort of, think, oh, there's no.
You all got on well. I mean, when I sort of, and you hear about the West Indies, sort of Clive Lloyd being a great leader, and one of the reasons why he was a great leader is because how he brought the islands of the Caribbean together, and there was always sort of inter-island rivalry. I mean, at Middlesex, you had Butch and Wayne from Barbados, you had Slacky and Nelly from St Vincent, and obviously yourself from Jamaica, but you all seem to get on brilliant. I mean, I always remember Butch being the father figure, wasn't he? He was the sort of I think the person you went to for sort of some advice and reassurance, and Diamond obviously just being, well, the great man that he is, and sort of what a fast bowling sort of mentor to have. I mean, it must have been great to have him sort of taking you under his wing, really.
I think it was great to have those guys, because they were all individually brilliant in their own way, and they all had their own, what they brought to the table. I mean, Wayne was a fantastic bowler. He was very, very inspirational, because when you bowled with Wayne, it was such a great partnership to have both of us. Wayne was very aggressive, very at the bowlers. I was at the other end, swinging it, bowling my own sort of way, and you knew what the standard was. When you saw, when Wayne's, when you're watching, when you're not bowling, if you're feeling it mid wicket, whatever, you saw the effort that he put in, and the standard that was required. Butch was. Butch was like a wise guy. He could read people like you'd never believe. He was one of the most shrewd guy I know. Slacky was the most honest guy. He was
such a gentleman, wasn't he?
He was an amazing guy. If he would encourage you, if you saw that, he would really sort of encourage you and say, look, you can do this. Neil was, he sort of came up. I sort of took him on my wings a bit, because he was, Gat used to say, Norman, well, warm up with Neil and show him, a few things, and so try and help him as much as I could, because when he came to the team as well, he obviously needed just that little bit of push, and because he didn't realise how his ability really. He didn't realise how good he was, so someone needed to say, look, do this, show him the ropes, basically, to get prepared for a match and things like that, what was required. And it was great, because after the game we all liked different things. So the guy, say Butch, Neil, myself, we'd probably go for curry or something. We'd chat about the game and stuff like that. It was nice, because even off the field, because we're away a lot in hotels and stuff, so it's nice to have some people you can chat to about that you can relate to in different ways. I mean, I relate to everyone in the team, but we all have different things and different traits that we like and dislike, and that's probably made us such a great team, because we're all so different. But it was great to have those guys in the team, because they'd been, Slack had been there before me, Butch, Wayne, so I could, they could sort of say, look, Norm, this is what you need to do. He would say, he said Middlesex team, he used to say, Butch used to say to me, he said, Middlesex is, that we've got such a strong team, that they wouldn't think twice of dropping you. So you got to keep your standard, because there's another bowler coming up. If you don't perform, we had that type of squad and team. And
any advice that you remember that Wayne gave you?
Well, Wayne was, he said, "Nami," in his Bayesian accent. He used to say, he doesn't like it up him. He doesn't like it up him, because that was always what Wayne used to say. He always wanted to bowl short of some guy, But he was more of he was a great bowler, but off the field, Wayne was a character. We used to share a room together, and lots of time we off the field, and Wayne would, we were in the room, sharing a room together, and then we're relaxing, and then Wayne would be on the phone, and he'd be talking for ages, and he'd be talking to a young lady for ages, and there I was just, on the next bed, just listening to his lyrics. So, and then I used to say to Wayne, I said, Wayne, of your friend, has she got a friend, that you can fix me up with, because he was always chatting to. And anyway, he said to me, "Yeah, Norman, I'll fix you up with someone." And so his girlfriend at the time knew a friend, and told her, that I was interested in. Anyway, she ended up meeting his girlfriend's friend, and that's how my first daughter came along. From through Wayne, actually. Wayne's introduction to his girlfriend was a friend of my ex, and so we had a lot of laughs and so that made us sort of and stories. We had some great stories, because when you're in a dressing room, everyone had stories to tell when you come in the dressing room, and they're all so different. So that just made that sort of dressing room a fun place to be, And then when we were on the field, it was business. We forget when to switch off, and we meant business, because as the more successful we were, obviously, the more fun we had.
I always remember asking Wayne sort of, what was your perfect way of getting a wicket, and he said, letting him have one, and then him missing a long half volley and getting bowled because he's not interested. It was sort of he wanted to shake him up before he got them out, didn't he, Wayne? He wanted to impose himself on.
He wasn't the most technical fast bowler. He just knew one way, and I used to watch Rain run in when he held the ball. That's right. He just used to put it there, whichever way, and run in. It would cross seam, the seam would be all over the place, and somehow the ball would hit the seam and take off when he bowled from the pavilion end, and that ridge, when he hit that ridge on the pavilion end, and just outside the off stump, he used to get a lot of lifters from there. But yeah, he was a character as well. He just knew one way. You couldn't sort of, if you were, say, talking to Malcolm Marshall, Malcolm Marshall might say, "Oh, Norm, I remember talking to Malcolm Marshall about Viv Richards. I was playing against the West Indies in Jamaica, and it was the rest of the world versus the West Indies, and in Sabina Park. And Malcolm, I said, "Malcolm, how would you get Viv out?" And he said, "No." He said, when he first comes in, he's not too sure about outside the off stump. Just keep it out there and keep it out. He will have come up with a theory. And so Wayne would be, he'd be right. He just knows one way. Just outside off stump or straight. But he was more of an aggressive bowler. Malcolm was more of a, he used to work batsmen out a bit more. But it worked.
So I was just thinking about. The saddest thing is obviously two of those players, Wolf and Nelly, are no longer with us. Taken far too young. It's very sad, isn't it? Because there were two, huge figures in Middlesex cricket, and two lovely men too.
It was a very, very sad time when they were both young men. Wilf was a great guy, great team man. He was a fantastic player. I remember, I used to talk to Wilf about lots of things, and he always used to had something positive to say, whether it was on the field or off the field, And Neil, we became very, very good friends, Neil and I. We used to, we're great friends. And when he went back to St. Vincent, he obviously wanted to build a life there, because that was his ambition to build a house, and have some rooms to rent out off the side, and then do some coaching, and he was a very he wanted just to have a nice sort of life back in the Caribbean, and he went back very young. So it was such a sad time when that happened, and it made you sort of reflect back, and you look back and you're thinking, these guys who made such great contributions. It was so sad, that they're no longer with us, because and it makes you see life in a different light, really. See that we all need to to enjoy, the time that we do have, and with friends and family, and you can look back and appreciate those times, so you look back on the good times as well. And I was glad, that when I joined the club, Wheelfield was around. Neil came later. We had some great times together. He was a great bowler for Middlesex as well. Fun memories of those two.
In the same way that you sort of moved, through Middlesex second 11 to England very quickly, you moved through Middlesex first 11 to England very quickly, didn't you? I wouldn't say it was one full season. It was almost half a season. I think took 30 odd wickets at, under 22 apiece, and then all of a sudden, once again, you're on a plane to Australia. This time, not sharing families places with staying with families, but obviously staying in big swish hotels and playing alongside the likes of Botham, Gower, Lamb, and Willis. What was that like to sort of moved into that sort of group as quickly as you did?
Yeah, I remember when I got selected, and it was a surprise for me as well, because getting to the Middlesex team when I did, sort of towards the second half of that season that we won the championship. It was, I think, my body, because I had an injury earlier in the summer with my back again, and then I got myself strong and fit, and then sort of each game I played, I just got better and better and better, faster and faster and faster. Got wickets, and Mike Briddy and the Middlesex team were unbelievably good, to welcome me into that team, because we had so much knowledge and so much talent. Wayne, myself, Edmonds and Embry. We just had a great setup. All the batters, in the top order, so we could bowl on any conditions and win games. And Mike Briddy was very shrewd. He used me very, very well. He knew when to bowl me. He didn't give me any restrictions. He just let me get on with it. And it was a great experience. So towards the end of that season, obviously, when I was selected, I was just as shocked as anyone else, really. But that was it. Then next you knew, you met everyone like a couple of days, or a day before you were due to fly to Australia. There was no sort of, once the season was over, there was no sort of training or anything like that. You were just met up and off you went. Obviously, the only person I knew out of the squad was Ian Gould. He was the only person that I'd met before. I'd met any of the other guys in any sort of social way before. So when I got to Australia, it was quite a baptism of fire, really. And it took me a while to adjust to my new sort of status, really, in England team. And I knew there was a lot of expectations, a lot of would have been asked of me. But what I was disappointed about in the beginning was it was every man to himself. You know what I mean?
Within the England setup.
Yeah, as in, there was every man to himself. So in England setup, they expected you, now that you're a test player, every single person should know exactly what's required of them. And if you haven't got your game going, then it's down to you. So it was a hard lesson to learn, that you had to sink or swim.
Yours, as well as the Middlesex dressing room, had obviously been very supportive and working together.
Yeah. And it's a mixture of young and old players. So the three young players that tour was Derek Pringle, Graham Fowler, myself. We were like the three young players. I mean, both of them, Gower, they're probably 5 years ahead of us. So us two, and we were like sort of newbies as well. So we kind of, trying to hang out together. And you know, the train at the beginning, we played quite a few, you know, sort of warm-up games, which was quite good because it, you know, made you acclimatise very well. But I had a lot of thoughts about the quality of the Australian. I knew they were good, and I knew that, you know, I needed to up my game, but you still needed a little bit of mentoring, you know, from the likes of the senior players and even the coach and stuff. So you basically had to learn on your feet, and so that was a tough lesson at the beginning of that tour to see what, you know, obviously in Australia, you know, they take cricket to a different level on and off the field. So everywhere you went, it was cricket. Obviously, the expectation of me was quite amazing, because when I made my debut in Perth at Wicket.
Right in the first test, I mean, Roland, obviously Butch was the first black player to play for England. You were the second. What did that mean to you?
Well, I mean, I didn't realise the enormity of it at the time, because, you know, to me, I was just another player playing. You know, when I joined Middlesex, I didn't see myself as a, you know, I just saw myself as another player who just so happened to be black. You know, so when I didn't, I mean, I knew Butch had played before me, and I remember when Butch was playing in West Indies, I was very proud of the fact that he was playing for England. Obviously, you know, I played in the second team, and then when I got selected, it was like, because I'd played for England on the 19s, and to me, I was just another player playing for England. You know, I didn't realise the enormity of it at the time. It's something sort of later on when I look back and I'm thinking, you know, wow, that was quite an achievement at the time. But then you were just another player. I mean, I remember when one of the journalists said to me, you know, when I did quite well in Australia, my fourth game, and he said, "Oh, why don't you switch the TV on? You might get a surprise in Australia." And I remember, well, I switched the TV on, and there was my mum and dad and the family and their friends at the house in Kenton having a great big party. You know, been with television interviewing them and everything, because England had won a Test match, and they were, you know, shouting and proud and everything. And I was like, wow, yeah, it was unbelievable. And even much later, Gus, much later, when I was walking down Oxford Street, Baker Street, near Selfridges, and I was just walking up. This was like quite a few years after that event, and this bus driver was waving at me, you know, and I was like, "Why is he waving? Does he know me?" Because, you know, you're just going about your business. Anyway, he went up to see what he wanted, and he came out of the bus and he said, "Pleased to meet you, man. Pleased to meet you, man." You know. So it meant a lot to a lot of black people, you know, and I didn't realise it. You know, it meant so much to them that they even, like, you know, decades afterwards, they recognised me and was saying, you know, how proud they were of that.
Do you realise the size of it now? If you're saying it's the sort of the significance of it now?
Yeah, I think I realise the significance of it, because you know, obviously since I made that debut, also there've been a few other guys who've, you know, have come since then. But I think back in, you know, 1980, 82, 83, you know, for a black player playing for England, you know, in Australia in the Ashes, you know, getting man of the match, you know, was a big thing. But to me, I was just an England player playing for England, you know, and so it's only when you watch things like, you know, you watch the West Indies documentary, Finer Babylon, and you saw some of their, you know, what it meant to a lot of the Caribbean people in England, for them, you know, that team to do as well as they did. It meant a lot that, you know, their kids, or, you know, my you know, people come after me would think, yeah, you know, if Norman can play for England and do well, you know, our kids are second and third generation. You know, there's no reason why they wouldn't have the chance to do that as well. You know, so in that way, it meant that, you know, whatever you achieve, you see the significance of it. And I was, I'm sort of proud, but at the time you didn't see it. You were just another player. You know what I mean?
You had a difficult first couple of tests. First test wicket?
Greg Chappell.
How was it? It was caught lamb. Where was he fielded?
He was fielding at square deep. Well, it was on the boundaries.
Bounced him out.
He was setting him up for the hook. Yeah.
I mean, so you took one tick in one wicket in your first two tests. You recalled for the fourth test at the MCG, and I mean, it's even now one of the great test matches of all time, and it's always remembered for both and getting Thompson out at the end, wasn't it? After that sort of brilliant partnership he had with Alan Border, but it sort of completely overshadows the fact that you took 6 for 77 in the second innings and took 8 wickets in the match. It's a strange one, isn't it? How one wicket at the end can sort of, in some ways, sort of slightly overshadow the outstanding performance that you put in that game.
Yes, I mean,
as you said, you got man of the match as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did get man of the match. I mean, it was an amazing test match, as you know. But yeah, I mean, I just, you get that sort of game, Gus, when you play and you just everything just falls into place. And the crowd, the Melbourne crowd, 80 odd, nearly 90, probably 100,000 people were there in the end. And you have to perform in front of that crowd. It was amazing, and also test match, it takes it out of you mentally, physically. So, during that last, final day, everyone gave it everything that they had. There was a few times where we should have probably run them out, and it didn't happen. And I mean, it was touch and go. And whether we're going to get back into the series, and it was just an amazing test match. The first innings, I remember bowling well, and I was walking back to the hotel, the Hilton Hotel, and Jeff Thompson, I think Australian, was staying, and he was walking back as well, and he came up to me and he said, said, well bowled, so I knew Jeff Thompson from when he played for Middlesex back in sort of 1981, and he was, he was like really saying, well bowled, it was very encouraging, and that meant a lot coming from him. And then I went back to the hotel following day, second innings. That was great. We had a plan, to get Wessels out, and because he was a danger man, and we stuck to it. Instinctively, you knew what to do with some of the other batsmen. And the wicket was a new wicket as well, and so it helped the bowlers a bit. But having got so close with Border and Thompson, with that last wicket partnership, we at one stage we think, oh my God, we've tried everything, and they're still there. Thompson used to go outside leg stump and still hit the ball through the off stumps, offside. And both when we threw the ball to both of them, golden arm, and he managed to get an edge in the end. He just managed to get a bit of lift outside the off stump, and then Chris Taveray fumbled it, and he was like, oh no! And then Jeff Miller caught it on the rebound, and it was just the most amazing day's cricket or test match. And obviously everyone remembers that, both of them wicked. But yeah, it was a great game for me too.
How do you look back at your England experience? I mean, did you enjoy it all? I mean, it's fun. My mother sort of said to me towards the back end of my international career, she said, when you first played for England, I was the proudest mother in the world. But now I can't wait for it to be over, because it's sort of, it's a wonderful experience, but it can be, it's stressful as well, isn't it? It's hard, it's tiring.
Yeah, I think Gus, when I was playing for England, when I was on tour, when I played on tour for England, it was, I was always in the team. I was always in the team, always, apart from also when Bob Willis was captain, he had his first choice fast bowler. When he retired, I was first choice fast bowler. And on tours, I always had great tours. Always did well on tours. When we played in England, we, as fast bowlers, we have to play a lot.
I mean, I get your feeling. You're saying you think you'd have managed a central contract would have benefited you hugely.
Definitely, because you were in order to have a career in county cricket. Middlesex, they paid my wages. When you played for England, you got a bonus really for playing for England. But Middlesex were your employers, so Middlesex expected you to, even when you're sort of tired, you come back from a test match playing for England, and you've given it everything. You're absolutely mentally and physically you're tired. Then you drive to another game. You drive and then play a game like virtually a day after a test match, and you're absolutely, you've given everything for those 5 days. Yeah, and then it's not, you're trying, but sometimes your body is just, as a fast bowler, trying to do it time after time. Recovery, it wasn't, if you want to be a fast bowler, if you want to be medium pace bowler, whatever, you can pace yourself, and because expectation is not for you to be bowling, express all the time. So that playing county cricket and playing test cricket during an English season back in those days was not easy to do both. And as a fast bowler to the highest, without being injured, and especially if you've got any type of injuries as well as a fast bowler, in order to have a career, you either got to slow your pace down and learn to do something with the ball.
You started your career as a sort of raw tear-away fast bowler, and finished it as a intelligent, high-quality, medium-fast swing seam bowler. When did that you look at other, obviously, great bowlers as well. You sort of Hadleys, Marshalls to some extent. When did you did you almost make a conscious decision that to survive, I've got to modify what I do slightly?
Yeah, because I was getting a lot of injuries, Gus. I was getting a lot of injuries, from playing a lot of cricket. So my first injury that was really, really bad was my groin. I had a hernia. But it took 3 years for them to diagnose it. So I first had it I first felt it in '86. I went in England, sort of B tour as well, and I had this hernia. But it's like you can't actually see it, but physically you look fine. And so everyone thought it was a groin strain, so you try and play through a groin strain. So you take your distal G6 and you strap yourself up and play. But where it is, the inguinal hernia, it's your profession, so you want to play, or so you can't really bowl how you want to bowl, so you compromise to play. And it wasn't diagnosed for like 3 years. And I was in pain most of the time I bowled for Middlesex I played against Australia in '85, and I had it then, but I was just trying to play through it. So I did to a specialist, and then played the rest of that season for Middlesex with it. And then '86, I played went to a tour with England A, and it was there. '87, I had it, and then I went to a specialist, and he's finally diagnosed it and said, yeah, you need to have an operation. So I had the operation in '87, and I was out to start that season, and then they mended it, and then I played for the second half of that season. I did well. I got over 50 odd wickets. But
just looking at you, I mean, 85. I mean, your consistency was remarkable when you for Middlesex. This is 84, 73 wickets at 21.82, 85, 73 at 22.95, 86, 58 at 23.79. You then sort of say you had the hernia injury, so 87, 51 at 18.78. In 1988, 71 at 18.16, and in 1989, I didn't miss the wickets, but you averaged 21 as well. So even with the injury, you were still taking your wickets at under 23 apiece, which is phenomenal.
I mean, that was the thing. You played through injuries because you know that was your job, and you know you sacrifice a little bit of pace because if you know to play consistently for the county. I mean, as you know, you've played through pain. You know, you're a bowler and you've played through a lot of pain. I know you've played through stress fractures when you had stress fractures yourself and other injuries. You know, and how difficult it was back in those days for it to be properly managed, you know, and diagnosed. So it was difficult, and even when I had after the operation, and I started to get back, and you know, and I became a better, consistent bowler over the years. I became much more consistent because of the experience, and you know you can, after playing for a while, you can do it with your eyes closed basically, because you've got that. You know, your body, you know, sort of homes into. You know what I mean? You know what your body is capable of. You know what you can do, and you know you probably could still run in and bowl really, really quick if you had time to recover to do it time after time after time. You know, but you knew that. You know, we were in loads of different competitions. We were always going for we're always going for something, you know what I mean? And Gats always wanted to play the best team. You know, you always want to play the best team, and you knew that if you didn't play next game, you might not be playing. You know, someone else would come and take your place, and you might not get in. You know, for a while. So, you know, we had such a strong squad, but a lot of guys did play with a lot of injuries, and something had to give in some ways. In some ways, when I became a better bowler, you know, for Middlesex from being the out-and-out fast bowler, which I think if I had, you know, proper diagnosis of injuries and proper management, I probably would have continued to be that type of bowler for a lot longer.
Yeah, it's almost, well, England's loss was Middlesex's gain to some extent because of the circumstances or the schedule that we played. And you're right, I remember playing a test match here against the West Indies in 1995, and England won the test match, and the Middlesex coach was waiting for me outside the Grace Gates to take me down to Cornwall to play in a NatWest Trophy match the following day.
Yeah.
And they were all saying, almost looking at their watches when I got on. England won the test and sort of saying, "Where have you been?" And that was a sort of. I mean, I love bowling with you. I mean, you kept it tight, you created pressure, you took wickets, you handled the big occasions brilliantly. And one thing I noticed, I mean, your performances in finals for Middlesex. So I think, there were 4 finals that we won. I mean, the other finals, I mean, I'm just saying, looking at your figures here. So against Essex, 10.1 overs, 4 for 39. Versus Kent, 9 overs, none for 24. Versus Kent again, 9 overs, 2 for 18. And against Worcestershire, 12 overs, 1 for 23. So in big matches, I mean, I know these are after you've played Test cricket, but as you sort of said, I mean, coping with the big occasions are an important thing as an international sportsman, and it's something you obviously did exceptionally well, because there are other players that didn't perform in finals, aren't they? They're sort of notable by the fact that they didn't sort of star in those games, but you did.
Yes, yeah, you. I think, you know, obviously the experience of playing international cricket helped. Also, the experience of knowing, you know, when you knowing your body, knowing what you're capable of, what you can and can't do, you know, the rhythm, getting the rhythm, the sense of the occasion as well, the expectations, and the standard that was required from the Middlesex bowlers. You know, we've always had, you know, great bowlers. And we work as a team of bowlers. I remember, you know, working with you, bowling with you against Worcestershire in the final at Lords, and we just kept them we kept it so tight for, you know, we could have just carried on bowling, the 2 of us, you know, for bowled out our spells. You know, I remember you getting Brian Pick out, I mean, which was a, you know, huge wicket, and you were bowling from the pavilion, I was bowling from the nursery.
Actually, I was going to ask you about that, because I was at the nursery end.
That's right. Yeah, it was swapped. Yeah, we did swap.
Because
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, we did swap.
you always bowled at the nursery end, but you had
That's
one a
right.
little period at the pavilion end. But you,
Yeah.
why was
I
the
saw
nursery end?
game. That's right. That game for that game. Yeah, that's right. Because for some reason I just I did change, but I normally bowl from the nursery end.
What was it about the nursery end that you enjoyed?
I think my natural action was, when I first started playing, my natural action was to the ball would go away from the bat. So and the nursery end did help that. So you could bowl a little bit straighter, knowing that it will go away, and if it nipped back, you could get a wicket. So it was just my natural way of bowling was a nursery end, and it, the sort of the momentum that it took you just in that arc away from, and trying to bowl away swingers was my preference. It just felt good, but also bowling from the pavilion end as well. When my bowling was I was a little bit sort of more open with my action towards the end of my career, so it was slightly more helpful bowling from the pavilion end. But and it was also a bit more bounce there. But yeah, the nursery end just felt good. And in some ways, Gus, bowling from the nursery end sometimes, it's a big adjustment for a lot of bowlers who come to Lords. They sometimes they don't always get it right there, and it can work the other way around for us as well, because when we go and play another ground, sometimes we can bowl a bit too straight, because we're used to the ball going down the slope. So yeah, there's always a little bit of adjustment to be made. But I did enjoy the the natural sort of movement away, and if it didn't go away, it would nip back, which helped my.
I said it before earlier on. I always remember LBW was a ball boom that sort of almost moving it just against the natural contours of the slope was such a devastating ball for you, in the way that you used to trap so many people LBW, didn't you? The half forward.
Yeah, the nip backer, but also when you bowl from the nursery end to left-handers as well, that was a great help, because that the ball used to come back into them fiercely when you bowl it from the nursery end. You just nip it back into them. So they're playing sort of waiting for the ball to go straight. Not realizing that slope will just bring it nicely back into them. So a lot of guys used to get bowled, or they used to just chop it on because of that slope. So you learn your conditions. You learn your home ground. You kind of learn a little bit about the conditions there. So bowl, I learned to bowl at Lords.
Which Middlesex achievement would you say gave you the most satisfaction, or victory, title, trophy win?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously when we won it the first time round, the championship, when I just came into the team season, that was a big surprise. But it's just when we won it, I think it was when was it 93? Was it 93? We played a game against Nottingham at Lords, I remember, and we needed to win the game to try and win the championship. And I remember bowling. I only got 4 wickets second innings that game, but I remember bowling really, really well to help us win the championship. Obviously, the 1983 Bench and Edges final, that gave me a lot of pleasure, because I didn't have the best start when I came on to bowl. I was bowling 2 straight, and the first time I bowled to Graham Gooch, ever bowled to Graham Gooch, and I was obviously trying to swing it away, but it wasn't. It was just going straight on, and he whipped me through square leg a couple of times, and they were racing away, and that was probably not the greatest start. So I had to claw it back, and then we obviously were defending a very, very low score, and Neil Foster came into bats, and he was the last wicket in, and we had to get 3 runs, I think, or 4 runs off the last over, and it was quite one of the most pleasing pleasure for Middlesex at Lords was to bowl him with the first ball of the last over to win the Benson Hedges Cup final. I mean, that's probably one of the best games for Middlesex I've played in. I mean, winning the championships were fantastic as well. And then being, when I came in, obviously not being the main, being one of the first championship, being part of the team, but when I had this sort of responsibility of being sort of one of the senior players and helping to win it again, and I know 3 times, and even my last season for Middlesex, so I think I finished top of the bowling national.
So you got 15 wickets at 13.46.
Yeah. Even though I played in a handful of games, it was good to contribute.
Yeah.
But I think that Benson Hedges probably was one of the finest and most pleasurable games, because there was a lot of pressure on that game, and they could have got an edge. It would have been 4 runs. So that would probably be one of the most memorable games. Obviously, played against, when I played the final at Worcestershire at Lords against Worcester, opened the bowling with you. That was a great game as well, because we were on, it was a pressurised, wasn't it? Playing the finals at Lords, a pressure, in front of the crowd, and opened the bowling with silence. There's absolute silence when you got the ball in your hand, and then you got to run in and make sure you do your job, and we did it very, very well. And I think you and I had we had some good partnership over the years. I mean, I do remember, Gus, when you came into the team as a young man, young bowler coming in, and I remember it specifically. Your ambition was so unbelievable. You just knew that there's something about you, because we played, I think it was either Oxford or Cambridge. We played a game. I think which team was Mike Atherton played? Was it Cambridge?
Yeah, he was at Cambridge.
Yeah. I think it was at Cambridge. We played a game at Cambridge, and you and I think opened the bowling in that game. And I think I probably got 5 wickets, and you probably got 4 wickets, something like that. And I remember you coming up to me after and said, next time I'm going to get 5. I just remember you wanted to do better. You know what I mean? You had that. You had something about you that you weren't satisfied just getting a 4. You wanted to get 5.
I think. You look at it now, and I think. Healthy competition, really. I think we all. And again, I've sort of been involved either in my current position or sort of maybe towards the end of my Middlesex career after and it was almost everybody looking at the overseas player to be the star, but we all wanted to be the star, didn't we? The overseas player was to supplement us, but it didn't mean we couldn't outperform him. And I think that was we were all not in a nasty, aggressive, selfish way, but all competing with each other as well as with the opposition, weren't we? To sort of be the main man or the one that won the game, which probably obviously had a huge influence on the success that we had.
Oh, definitely. That was always one of the great things with Middlesex teams. We always had good competition, good healthy competition, and we all cared about our games. I mean, you would be really angry if you gave a run. You were hungry. You know what I mean? A lot of players were just not a run, but you didn't want that. You were very, very ambitious. And you went off your back. You went to New Zealand and came back stronger, fitter. I remember when you came back from 1 year in New Zealand, and you came back really, really fit. And I remember that I didn't do as much work that winter, and we came to pre-season. And I remember you saying to me, you said to me, Norm, I don't think you did as much pre-season this year, did you?
I can't believe I'd have said that to you. I can't believe it.
You did, because, and it was true. I hadn't done as much sort of running as I normally do, and you noticed it. And I remember you pointed it out to me.
I tell you what I do remember. You talking about your back injuries. Obviously, I had a stress fracture as well when I was young, and Johnny Miller was the Middlesex physio, and the plan I was given was the Norman Cowans plan. So I was given the sort of back strengthening, the sort of toughen up exercise regime that Johnny Miller had obviously produced for yourself. So it was. I just remember there was this sheet of paper, and they hadn't even changed the name. It was Norman Cowans sort of fitness plan, and I had to follow. What was your bowling philosophy? What would you say if you had a philosophy? If someone was to ask you what your bowling philosophy was, what was it?
Well, my philosophy was, as long as I was prepared. I was trying to be well prepared. But preparation, I think, was very, very important, because I think when you prepare, when you get on the pitch, you don't have to think too much about your job of getting wickets, because you're prepared, and I think that's a lot to do with the confidence that you have on the pitch. So I think preparation is very, very important, because then once you get the ball in your hand, everything else, it just becomes automatic. And obviously, when your job as an opening bowler, for my philosophy, was use a new ball and get wickets. It was to get wickets. So I was a very attacking bowler, because with a new ball, that's when the best time, that best chance you had of getting wickets early. And my philosophy was, it was always, to preparation and attack. And I think Middlesex, we were a very attacking bowling team.
Who was the biggest influence on your career?
I would say I used to watch. It was obviously when I started my career. My biggest influence would be, I suppose, I think Don Bent had a big influence on my career, because he believed in me, and he gave me my chance, obviously, in the second team. And then obviously when I got into the first team, Mike Brady was a big influence in how he used me as a young bowler to integrate with the team. Obviously, watching great bowlers was another thing that I used to watch. Great bowlers, obviously Michael Holding, Dennis Lilly was a great guy to watch and learn from him. I remember having a chat with him when I was a young man of 17, and he came over a few times to when I was an MCC staff, and sort of chatting to him about bowling, and he couldn't say enough or give you enough advice. So people like that I looked up to and admired. Richard Hadley, obviously, when he was his pump, I used to remember where I played for England and New Zealand, and watched him practice, and you learned a lot just from his arm action. His arm action was, when you watch him from sideways on, the speed of his arm was quite deceptive. Obviously, Michael Holding, back in '76, when he was bowling at his pump, used to watch these guys, and they made it look easy and effortless. Wayne at Middlesex, when I came on as substitute a few times, and watching him bowl, and seeing the effort that he put into his bowling, that kind of made him sort of a bit of a Superman or a superhuman, the way he bowled, and that kind of spur you on to say, right, gosh, this is a standard you need to have, and this is how fit you need to be to play this game at this level. So yeah, there are many things, Gus. There's so many things that
Favorite teammate?
Say again.
Favorite teammate?
I used to go really well with Nelly, the great Neil Williams. We used to do get on well, on and off the pitch. We used to hang out together. We used to we used to talk about a lot of things, encourage each other. I think so he was a big loss when obviously but we had we used to share a room. We used to share a room together. So he was one of my favourite teammates. Yeah. And
what did it mean for you to play for Middlesex?
Well, I always wanted to play for Middlesex from ever since I lived in Middlesex. I watched them play, and my ambition was always to try and play for Middlesex. So I did everything I could to play for Middlesex, and it meant a hell of a lot. My formative years, my career was from a young 17-year-old. Middlesex was a team I wanted to play for. There were opportunities to play for other counties, rather than Middlesex at stages in my career when I was probably at one of the heights of my career, and I didn't go. I stayed with Middlesex. because walking out those gates at Lords or walking into the gates of Lords, walking out the pavilion into Lords. I mean, there's no better ground to play. I was very, very proud to be to play for Middlesex and being part of a great setup, a great team. There's lots of guys. Maybe there's a clash of personalities, but you just got on with it when you got onto the field. You just did your job. And that's I was very, very proud of the fact that I did that, and I gave Middlesex some fantastic part of my abilities as a professional cricketer. So I'm very, very proud of representing one of the best counties in the country, and I mean, it meant so much to me to play for Middlesex, and I was very proud of that fact.
I mean, you're back involved in a capacity. You're sort of sitting on the diversity and inclusion committee that the club now has. How are you finding that?
Yes, I mean, I'm very, very, very honoured and delighted to be included in that. I will see anything I can do to help Middlesex to become even stronger and better team, a better setup. Is great to be asked to help to do that, and I'm finding it's very, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to continuing that to make Middlesex even better club than it is at the moment.
And last question for me. I mean, a little bit of advice. Any advice from a youngster coming through? I mean, you're obviously, again, looking at the conversations we've just had, I mean, you showed a huge amount of sort of determination to get to where you have done. You've never been shy of asking questions, and again, just listening to you chat, sort of going up to Dennis Lilly and asking his advice, and Malcolm Marshall as a youngster. You've never been shy at sort of coming forward and sort of and being involved. But what sort of advice would you give to youngsters coming into the game now?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important that youngsters, try and listen. I think it's very, very important for them to listen, because there are people who have done it before you, and they're giving you the benefit of their experience. And I think you should always be trying to better your game by learning from senior players. Always finding ways of improving your game. Even when you think things aren't going well, don't give up, because just around the corner, that's when things start to go well again. And that's what I would say, never give up, and keep trying, and you never know what's going to happen.
Norman, thanks for your time. I mean, an hour and a half has sort of flown by here. Love talking to you. It's lovely to see you again. Congrats on all that you've achieved, not just for Middlesex, but for England too. I mean, you say you're proud to play for Middlesex. Middlesex is, well, I'm speaking on behalf of the club, but to some extent in my current capacity, but it's a bigger thing than that. But Middlesex is proud to have you as one of its great cricketers too. So thanks for all that you've done for the club and what you continue to do for the club, and we look forward to seeing you around Lords and to be involved with us over the coming years. So thank you, Norman.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Gus, and it's great speaking to you. And obviously, we've known each other a hell of a long time. Had some fantastic experience playing cricket for Middlesex, and also very, very proud what you've achieved as well, and continue to achieve for the club. And it's great to have a player of your experience and abilities on and off the field to keep Middlesex going forward. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Cheers, Norms.